just lost my dog this morning. Anyway, sorry I didn't start the broadcast with that. Good morning, good morning. This is Tracy K here, the Joyful Voyager, and we are joyfully voyaging today. Today we have a great subject and even more fabulous guest. Today's subject is, you want to travel safely? Think small. That's right. Now, obviously, there's a lot of this, and I'm going to let my guest address a lot of this, but small travel simply means this. It's allowing you to do maybe some of the things that you enjoy. Maybe you've been a cruiser. Maybe you like to stay at resorts. Maybe there's a lot of different things you'd like to do, but you're scared. You may not want to do it right now, but there's a way to do it on a smaller, safer scale so that you can actually enjoy some of the things you like, but be safe at the same time. That's small travel. So to talk about this today, I have a very special guest. I'm so excited. I always love to meet a kindred spirit who has the wanderlust that I do to travel everywhere. And this special person knows a lot about, oops, there you are. You almost disappeared. This special guest has a wealth of experience in the travel industry. She is a travel writer. She is a marketing maven, and she is particularly adept at helping travel brands, maybe suppliers that you've never heard of, get their message out there to let people know they're available. And she's really good at doing this for companies that offer small travel options. But she's a master marketer. She knows how to get your company's name out there. She knows how to make you seen. And she is the founder and CEO of Splash Communications. Help me welcome Elisa Leonard. Good morning, Elisa.
Good morning, Tracy. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. And what a wonderful introduction you just gave me. I really appreciate it. Love to work in the travel industry and love to travel. So it's a great combination to help those travel brands get their messaging out there. And then also to work as a writer and to help promote them that way as well. So I've got some firsthand experience with all these small, unique kind of trips.
Now, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I want to let our audience know about one other thing that you really do. Within your travel endeavors, you are very interested in eco-friendly trips. And you guys, Elisa is a diver. Now, we're not going to get way off of it because that's a whole other broadcast. But
don't want to go too far into the deep.
Yeah, and as a diver, she's very passionate about the world's oceans and the coral that lives in those oceans. So just to make a quick mention, there is a documentary on Netflix, and we're all at home, so you can watch it, called Chasing Coral. I'm telling you will love it. Anyway, not to get off, but anyway, I was going to let you, that was a tangent. Let's get back. So let's talk about the state of affairs right now, because as somebody who's, invested as much as you are in the travel industry and working with brands, you know what's going on. So let's talk about what's going on in the public mind as a whole about travel. What's going on?
So we've been kind of stuck, and it's been no travel, right? No travel, even outside of the very intimate areas where we live. It's maybe travel to the grocery store and back, right? And as things start to, as we've been living this shutdown. The messaging in the travel industry was things like "we miss you" and showing off the beautiful pictures of the places that you can visit someday soon. And as things start to open up and travel begins again, it's going to be messages of safety and security, and there's going to be different waves of people who are willing to just take that risk and jump right back in. And then there are going to be people who are really a little bit more cautious about the trips that they take. So I think it's going to be a gradual phase back into traveling and doing what we all miss and love. I know there's so many people that I talk to who were supposed to go on trips this spring and had to cancel them. And I'm one of those people. So, yeah, and I know you are too, Tracy. So, so I think there's just going to be different waves, and there's going to be different, and things have changed. Our travel experience is going to be completely different than what it was prior to this crisis.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. Something you said was key. There's people who are jumping right back in. And I know because I'm sending somebody, they're going on their special 25th anniversary weekend to the Florida Keys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's jumping right back in, but I got them a great, safe situation. But there's more of the other vein that you were talking about. People are cautious. And let me tell you how I know, because leading up to this broadcast, I can see who's interested in attending. And it was like, wow, oh yeah, we're all interested in hearing about this, because I get more of a sense just in talking to people that there's a lot of people that, yeah, they're dying to go, but they're just like, well, I don't know, because I'm scared. What do I do? How do I keep me and my family safe? So it's exciting because we're going to be showing people all kinds of things. So now we've got so much to talk about. And so what Elisa and I have done is we have prepared some slides, and we're going to talk about some of the different options. And then what's going to be great is at the end of these slides, we're going to actually see some pictures from some of Elisa's small travel adventures that she has taken.
Yeah.
And as a travel professional, I love to see that. I love to see people's trips. And so, okay, so Elisa, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a screen.
Okay.
And if you want to jump in with something, please don't hesitate, because we're in full here at the Joyful Voyager. Okay. Screen is easier. Share screen. Which screen do I want to share? This one. Share. Here we go. I got it to work the first time. So, okay, so chime in here anytime, Elisa, because I know you know. All right, so the first type that we want to talk about today on a small, safe travel is private tours. So this could be anywhere in the continental United States. Europe is starting to open up a bit, certain countries, all over the world. So there are private tours available where you can go with just a group of friends and family, and it's just your group. Okay, now some of these would involve flying. So if the ones that involve flying, depending on what you're prepared to do, you could charter a flight there. That could be done as well. If you don't want to go that route, then you would just use what the CDC talks about to fly safely. Because everybody's very mindful now. All of the airlines are, the airports are. So, that's something. So you could just take a group on a private trip, and whatever you want. It could be just a luxury. I want to eat bonbons all day and visit all the cultural things, and I want the food and the wine. Or there's everything from like trekking. People like to trek and do adventure tours, so you could do that too.
Right, or even winery tours.
Yeah, winery. You could drink listen, I had somebody who wanted to drink their way through Tuscany, and I was arranged that. That if you want to, and let's not forget, right here in the great US of A, we have a lot of great wine regions.
Absolutely.
Here we're in the mid-Atlantic area, so in the Virginia area. And also, let's not forget about California. We have there's wineries all over the place. You can do winery tours. Those things can be put together for you.
Right.
So you can, keep it simple. So basically, with a private tour, the world is your oyster. It's just a matter of designing it how it makes you feel the most comfortable and for what will fit what you want to invest in the vacation. Okay, so did you have anything you wanted to add here before I moved on to the next one?
No, but I think setting up for a group and maybe working with a travel professional to really make it so that it's within your comfort level, so that and I think people like you, Tracy, have great ideas and can really help them carve out a trip that would make sense, would be safe for them, and just doing something on a smaller scale.
Yeah, I mean, and it could be
custom.
Family, yeah, it could be great bonding time for friends and family. I mean, cooking lessons can be arranged. I mean, all kinds of things that you would never dream that you could do. And we're going to talk about, I can't wait to talk about some of your adventures later, because every time we talk, it's like, what? You did that? I'm so jealous. I want to be there. Okay.
Can't wait to do more.
Okay, so here's the next one. Anybody who knows America knows about RVs, and they have been around forever, recreational vehicles. Well, do you know that, no surprise here, but RV rentals have spiked? Why? Because you can take your family or friends, you can get any size RV, you can get the most basic all the way up to the most luxurious, and you can rent them for like what it would cost for a hotel stay per night, plus mileage and other things that they charge. But you could rent it. You have your own hotel, if it were, as it were, on wheels. So you could go to places like national parks. You could just take a road. Remember the road trip? Yeah, this is road tripping in style, and it's
a gorgeous one.
Yeah, that's a really pretty, I love that one. I had to show that one, but there's all kinds of basic. You could have anything from the most basic all the way up to the most luxurious. And, you know, you're safe. You can have your food on board, your family's there, you can see sights, and basically just do what you want. I know of families that are renting this summer, and they are just taking, sometimes they have a planned destination, and other times they're like, you know what, we're going to go from point A to point B. For example, years ago, I took a road trip from Virginia, where I lived at the time, to Las Vegas. And, you know, I have flown there plenty of times, but when you drive, you find all kinds of gems that you didn't know were out there. It's like, oh my goodness, I have to stop here. So wouldn't it be kind of cool to rent an RV and just kind of go? You might have a destination in mind, the Grand Canyon, whatever it is, but all of the gems you discover. And let me tell you, when you drive from east to west or west to east, you go through the Continental Divide. That is magnificent. That is something, if you've never seen, I mean, so the world is your oyster. It's like you can either find something or not.
There's so many things that, you know, you don't even expect to see, and so many little secret spots that you get to find on those trips. It's very true. Growing up, my parents had an RV, and so we did everything from going down to the Florida Keys, and you know, we were up in Connecticut, so we would go to Rhode Island and Cape Cod, and
I used to go to Cape Cod every summer.
That's right. It's a great place.
Yeah, I mean, when I was little, my family was from Boston, so every summer
you can rent cottages, just, you know, affordable cottages right on the water. It's beautiful.
Yes, I mean,
that's seafood.
Oh, please, don't get me started about the food. I you know, because I was just thinking that when we were talking about RVing and all the things you discover on the road, to my detriment, I discover the food on the road. I mean, you could look at it as a blessing or not.
Right.
But, you know, you could, you know, it's amazing the things that you see when you just go, when you drive. Because when we fly, we go from point A to point B. And, you know.
That's right.
But yeah, so, okay, let's look at what we got next. Okay, this is one of my favorites. Now, doesn't this look absolutely like you just want to go step into that picture and be there? I mean, just, okay, so let me see if we have any comments here. Sometimes we get them live. Okay. Anyway, this is a villa that you can rent. Now, these are, believe it or not, you can rent villas and private residences like this in the US. Now, this is, don't think Airbnb. This is villas where you have several bedrooms. Depending on where you're located, they're around the world. They're in the US, especially if you want to go to the beach. They're on the coast like Florida and all that nice stuff. Pools. You can have whatever you want. Like if you want the place fully stocked with food and you don't want to shop, they can do that for you. You could have a butler. It's what you want to do with it. But this gives you a home base where you can just enjoy a vacation in a luxurious setting. Look at that. You have a,
I mean, wow. Wouldn't you like to social isolate in a place like that? That would be amazing. You know, your family, or maybe it's just a couple families, close families, would be beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple of close families. And the other thing that's nice about it, I had a friend that does this quite frequently. I have a friend, and it was funny. Now, they were in this beautiful place, but they never left the house because it was just so amazing every day to wake up to the view and the services. It was like, why do we want to leave? Once in a while we did, and did an activity, which is cool.
Right.
It's completely free, and you're completely free to do what you want. But this is your own, what it amounts to, private resort.
Yeah, and it just would be an amazing change of scenery for sure. Lots of sunshine and water time. That looks beautiful.
And it's and something else I want to mention, and Lisa, you and I were talking earlier, you know, as a travel professional, I have a lot of people that love to go to all-inclusive resorts. Well, they really haven't existed. There's one that I know of, like down in the Florida Keys, that'll be opening up. It's like the only one that I know of in the US. But since, you know, the virus has hit, things have changed a bit. So now there are, get this, and I don't even have a bunch of little kids and I wanted to go. There's resorts around the country and around the world that are actually offering a package. Like, for instance, summer camp is probably going to be pretty dicey this summer. I don't know how many or if any are going to be operating.
Right.
So what kids and parents are looking forward to, it's like, oh man, there's no summer camp. Well, guess what? There are some options out there where you can go to a resort. They will package everything for you, your meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They will have private camp experiences and all kinds of activities for the family. And all you have to do is show up.
That's right. That's perfect.
Like, how about Wyoming? I was looking at this beautiful week. I was like, ooh, I want to send somebody there. Can you imagine summer camp for your kids? A week?
Yeah.
Vacation for you, vacation for the kids, all the foods included. Who's not going to love that?
No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
That's another small vacation option. And if you're safer, if you want to drive, that's another opportunity to just do a road trip with the family if you don't want to fly. Because
that's right.
Like I said, you can drive.
Yep. So it just gives people different options, and it gives them options based on what they're comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, and if you want to, this is a great time to go to the national parks. There's great options for beautiful places, you know, out in the West, in the East. I mean, it's just amazing. Okay, let's see what else we got in our goodie bag.
Sorry, I've got to plug my
computer. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. It would help if I was on the right one, wouldn't it? Here we go. All right. Now this is okay. Now look at that. Lisa's smiling because she knows what this is. Okay.
Yeah.
Now there are, for people that love to cruise, and I'm one of them, love to cruise. I would cruise morning, noon, and night if I could. But right now, even dedicated cruisers are saying, do I really want to get on a cruise ship right now? Well, guess what? There are some options to consider. There are obviously some cruise ships that are as large as small cities. But there are a lot of options where you can have passenger count of 200 or less.
That's right.
There's even ones, and this I love this picture because this is one of these options where you can you have a small group of people on the ship, and heck, if you know all of the people, you can even charter. There are boats you can charter that are even smaller than this, that you can have.
And some of these small ones just enable you to do some things that you couldn't do on the bigger ones. Some of the excursions are so customized, and
Let's
really
talk about some of those that you've been on real quick.
Sure. So I have been on a cruise that was about 200 passengers, and that was to the Sea of Cortez. And it was absolutely beautiful. I did some scuba diving on that one. And it was really nice. And it was all suites, right? So you had a lot of space to yourself. And I really think that some of those types of trips are going to come back a little faster than some of the bigger ones, because it's just going to be much easier for them to pivot and adjust to make people have that comfort, that feeling of safety. And then because they're smaller.
Go ahead. And then let's see, if you didn't mean to interrupt you, sorry. But speaking about the safety, because some people might be questioning right now, That sounds great, but that's still 200 people, and I may not know all 200 of those people. Let me tell you something. The cruise industry, they have responded magnificently to this situation. I mean, they've always, whenever I've been on a cruise, they're always cleaning and doing and everything else, but they have really even stepped it up even further. So they have, they do all kinds of health, they do health screenings. So obviously if somebody's running a fever or something, then they would not allow that person to board for their own safety and for the safety of the other guests. And I can tell you, before any of this happened, my poor stepdaughter got sick on a cruise. She got some kind of virus on a cruise, and they were magnificent even then. They could quarantine, they could do whatever was needed. They kept everybody safe, they kept her safe, and everything turned out just fine. So on these smaller ships, like Elisa was saying, you have fewer passengers, you have more room, so you're not crowded on these smaller ships.
Right. And I mean, and there are ones that are micro ships that you could charter, very easily charter, ships that have 3 crew and 10 passengers.
Which
so
is
you can get a few families that you're friends with and charter that, and it would just be, and those smaller ships, they can go to those island locations that some of them are completely desolate. There's no one on that island. It's not even inhabited. So you can go to these very tiny locations that you can't go to with a bigger ship.
And then that brings out a nice point too. What they can do is that it's like, well, what could you do there? Well, how about the crew can set up your own personal picnic area?
Barbecue, they'll bring the barbecue right to that island, and then you've got cheeseburgers in paradise and snorkeling galore, and sunning and beach time, kayaks like you're seeing in this picture.
Yeah.
All sorts of amazing things.
Oh, I have to tell you this funny kayak picture story real quick. Okay, so I was in Alaska, one of my favorite places on earth. It's an area I specialize in, send people to. So I and my husband had never been in a kayak. Okay, now here we are. Now this was the kind that had these pedals. Somebody had to do the pedaling in the back, and that was me. That was the first mistake. And then my husband was in the front steering. Well, don't ask me what happened, but they apparently, the group set off and they showed everybody how to do things. I kept losing the pedals. And then, it was freaking me out because we were in deep water, but somehow we got left with the rest of the group left, and I guess they didn't see us. So here we were out in the middle of the water. And I'm like, ah! And so somebody on shore, an instructor, saw us. They came and they got us. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, I will never do that again. I mean, I love seeing kayaks. I love seeing people in kayaks, but I was just challenged, okay? I knew how to paddle, but it was just the pedaling, and they didn't tell me that I wasn't supposed to wear hiking boots.
Oh.
I didn't know that. Regular shoes would have probably been fine. But I was in Alaska walking on rocks and things, so I had these hiking boots on. The worst thing in the world for a kayak. You will lose the pedals. You press them, and then they'll be gone. So anyway, they had to come and get us.
You had to be rescued.
That's not an adventure I'll probably repeat, but other people love kayaking. So this is right here.
Right. Yeah, and I was able, even on a Windjammer cruise, to figure out some scuba diving in the middle of that. So that was really terrific too, on some really small islands in the French West Indies. So,
and you make a good point for those of you out there that are scuba divers. I mean, wow. The things you could see, in small groups and places that you can't reach with bigger groups.
Right, and imagine, we were calling it our Uber, but we would get from place to place in a dinghy. And you don't need to bring much on those kind of cruises. I mean, you bring some t-shirts and a couple pairs of shorts and bathing suits and some sunscreen, and you're all set for the week. So wonderful experience.
That's wonderful. But yeah, this to me, I'm like, oh, I've always loved, my favorite thing is sailing on a smaller ship. But this is, I think this is going to be really important, like you said, going forward for people because, let's see. Ooh, look what popped up. Okay, speaking of smaller ships. Now, this is something, I'm going to let you weigh in on this one. This is a barge.
Right. So I went on a barge cruise last year, and it was, it's like a little floating hotel. And I didn't even know about barges. I didn't even know what that was. I was thinking garbage barge when I thought of a barge, right? I didn't know what a barge even meant. So I had to go through a whole education on this. But I took my daughter, who's a current, she's studying to be a chef at Culinary Institute of America. And so we were on a ship that went down the Canal du Midi, which has a fabulous history in the southern part of France. And we had 6 passengers total and 3 crew. And one of them was a French chef that my daughter got to cook with every day. So you are on a little floating hotel and you get to drink the wine from each individual location that you go to. When they stop at the lock, there's always a lock master there who they exchange for wine. So the wine that you're drinking is wine that you cannot purchase or you can't get again unless you were to go back. And it was amazing. And then you will stop and take a tour. So one day it was this ancient city. Another day it was these beautiful castles. So you're on a floating hotel in gorgeous vineyards on either side, and you just slowly go down these canals for a week. It was just fabulous.
Now, let me ask you, I have to ask, I mean, I'm sure the wine has everybody sold by now. I'm sure that's like, let's go. But what about now, in that situation, you get to sample a lot of the fresh produce and things.
Oh my gosh, every time that they would go to a lock, that's what they would pick up. They would get their wine, fresh produce. And then one of the days, that's where they took us, was to this beautiful market so that you could see all the produce. And we actually, was interesting. We had a French chef that was cooking for us, but one of the 6 passengers was also a chef from England. And then we had my daughter who was in culinary school. So we did some kind of things that I don't think they would do on every type of barge cruise. It would probably just be the French chef cooking for everyone. But they would actually, all of them would cook. And one of the days when we went to these beautiful markets, they did kind of a cook-off where they each had to find ingredients and make a certain appetizer to go and pair with the wines. It was really amazing.
Wow. So, now, and you bring out an interesting point. Now, I know you're very proud of your daughter because she graduated from CIA, the Culinary Institute of America. I mean, and that's quite an accomplishment. But here's one of the things that I talk about quite a bit is, you know, when I plan travel for somebody, it's not a trip, it's an experience. And particularly for, now your child is older, you know, obviously, but for children in general, for your children, this is an experience that they'll remember the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. And it's also such a doable thing for a family because these barges are small and it's a family of 6 could go on this cruise. They have 3 bedrooms. Oh. So it really is like a nice small little floating cottage, floating hotel.
But the experience for the kids, I mean, yes, they go to school, but this is education that this is seeing and doing and learning. You're exposed to new languages, possibly new foods, new experiences, other people. It's enriching in a way that you just can't duplicate.
No, and the history, it's real life history. You know, they'll get to go into some of these very old cities and see, you know, how things started. You know, the history there is so rich and it's so much older than what we have in our country. So it was a really amazing trip to take. Yeah. Definitely a bucket list item.
Now they also just so you know, we are, you know, because we have rivers here in the US, there are options to do river/barge type cruises here in the US.
There are.
Yeah.
There's some on the Mississippi River, and then there's a cruise line that does the Snake River, the Columbia and Snake River. Mm-hmm. Very active. There's biking and hiking involved there, and wineries too. So there are definite options within the US to do these types of things as well.
So yes, so people that would prefer not maybe not to think about flying intercontinental right now can certainly have this experience in the US. And once again, you know, we've lived here, we're born here, but it's like the things that you never see unless you go through the country. So once again, that's an enriching experience. Oh,
Yeah,
sounds
very,
wonderful.
very true.
Let's just go now.
Let's
Just
go.
stop the broadcast and go.
I'm ready.
Okay, now.
This is
All
one
right.
of those destinations. This is actually a picture that I took, and we went. And this is something that, you know, I think people will be ready to do shortly. But we took a group of our neighbors and friends, and we camped at Assateague, and that is a beautiful beach where there's wild horses, and it's not that far of a journey from where we live here. But there are other locations throughout the U.S. where you can do just this. And so we pitched tents. We had our own little tent village, and it was a wonderful experience for the kids. We camped outside, we cooked outside, watched the sunrise in the morning, got to experience seeing these wild horses who came quite close to us. But it was just a beautiful thing to do with a group of families, you know, closely connected families. So I think this is local travel that people will be able to do this
Camping,
summer.
glamping.
And then, yeah, you could glamp because they actually did have RVs there as well. So
Yeah,
you could
I used to camp as a Girl Scout, but you know, now I'm like more into the glamping.
Yeah, and you know what, Tracy? I met with someone that you had introduced me to, and there's a new concept that's in Germany, and it's going to Ireland, and I could definitely see it here. It's called Sleeperoo, and they are these little pods that have beds in them, and you can reserve them in different areas where they will set them up either on a beach or in a park, or there was one I'm not quite sure I would do, but it was with alpacas. In a field of alpacas, where you could set up your if that's one of your to sleep with the alpacas, you can do that too. So I really could see, you know, a company coming up with some kind of concept like that here as well.
Well, you know, and it's now what Lisa's referring to is now he's our mutual friend. It's a friend of ours in Ireland, and he's in the travel business. And as you can imagine, Ireland is starting to move around Ireland right now. They're not thinking about going other places. So yeah, so now they're going to be setting up these sleeperoos all over the place. And they're these pods, but they're very, very nice.
Yes, they are.
I mean, it's glamping in the middle of some place you would not be able to normally sleep, you know, next to historical sites, wherever they're going to put them. And the bedding is nice, the pod is nice, and you just basically, and it's just, yeah.
And it's sturdy, so you don't have to worry about weather. You know, if there's a rainstorm that happens, you're not just in a flimsy tent. So, yep.
Yeah, I think
they're isolated because they're in places where other people are not. So, you know, you've got your own little site
to do. Yeah. I mean, so these are the kinds of things, as sad as this entire thing has been, there are some great new innovations coming out.
That's correct. Yeah, I think things are, you know, that's the thing. Things have changed, and now we're going to have to look at it as, you know, maybe some of these changes are going to be for the better. Maybe there are going to be some things that come out of this that nobody expected and nobody did before, but they might become some of our favorite things.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, and I thought that was so cool, and I'm glad you got to see that too.
Yeah, it was. I could see that working. It was really, you know, it's a whole new concept. So I think we're going to see things like that. But just like you said with the all-inclusives, you know, there may be some more of that we'll see.
Yeah. So, okay, now we got to go to your next picture.
Yeah, show the horses, I think, maybe. Yeah. So when we were there, they were just, the horses were so close, you know, and that was Assateague. They owned that beach, and they let you know it. So one day we had one of my neighbors has a son, and he was probably about 5 years old at the time. and he came running back because they have restrooms there. Came running back and he goes, I can't go to the bathroom. And we're like, what's wrong? And he said, the horses have taken over. And so we went over there, and they wanted the water from the little water fountain. So they had completely surrounded the restroom facility. And so, they really were in charge when we were there. It was really, there was just so many different times that we were doing something, and we had to make sure, oh, okay, it's the horses' territory right now, not ours.
Now that's a riot. Now you tell me how many vacations you're going to get to see something like this, and this is just, spontaneous. You just don't know. So this is a treasure that you were able to capture, and you'll remember this every time you see that. And that's so with your family, I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was really a really great trip. So.
See, and you had a great story to go with it. Look at that.
Yeah, we did. We had many stories. The kids got to experience a real camping on a campfire and cooking food outside.
Oh, that's so fun.
Breakfast. Yeah, it was really a great one. We'd like to go back again. Actually, everybody talks about that. So it's one that we'll probably do again.
Now, for everybody who doesn't know, I believe Assateague is in Delaware. Yeah. Assateague is, because it's down there by, when you go to Bethany Beach or Rehoboth, it's towards in that area a little bit near Ocean City somewhere.
Yeah. It's actually, I think it might be considered Maryland, but it is very close to Ocean City.
The borders down there.
Yeah, I know, and it's all connected there. And but I think Assateague is Maryland, and it is very close to Ocean City. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I knew I was around in there somewhere, because I spent a lot of time in that area. And man, you'd be driving, and 1 block later, you're in another state.
That's right. Oh yeah, exactly how that works. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Beautiful beaches there.
Let's check out your next treasure.
Sure.
Oh, okay, now tell the story.
So this is, oh my gosh, the love of my life. This trip was probably hands down my most favorite. This is a ship called Vela. We went to the French West Indies. We had 16 passengers and 11 crew. And like I told you earlier, our Uber for the week was a dinghy. We would get they would anchor, and then they would take us ashore in a dinghy. And we got to go to some really tiny little islands. We were in a place called Ile-de-France for a day, where we had this wonderful wine and cheese party. It's a little French island. And we were in Dominica. We started in St. Lucia, which is a lush, beautifully green island I can't wait to get back to. Wonderful scuba diving there. The Pitons are these green, beautiful mountains that you see when you're there. So it was a really terrific trip. I made friends for life. It's kind of like an adult summer camp. Met some people that I've stayed in touch with ever since, and that was 2 years ago. So
let me ask you something. Now, for people that have dietary concerns, restrictions, like for me, I'm a plant-based eater, that's something. And what's nice about some of these is if you tell them, like in this particular case on the ship, I'm sure they would cater to that.
They would. Yeah, they will tell you, extreme allergies, they would recommend maybe that this isn't the trip for you, just because you're going to some pretty remote places. But they would cater to a vegetarian diet or any diet that you have. And, some of the smaller ones, they have another one that was a 10-passenger ship. And there's lots of other ones that you can charter that will come with a chef, and you can give them your diet, and they will follow it for you. Yes.
Yes, and that's one thing I love about small travel, that I'm able to customize that. So I know that I have my organic whatever for breakfast, my oatmeal with my soy milk, whatever it is, and then that they have it there. That helps you to enjoy your vacation that much more when you don't have to think about the food, and that's settled.
Right.
Crazy about food, but even if you're not, and you're just a gourmand and you love to eat, you won't be disappointed.
No, not at all.
I haven't heard that you've been disappointed yet on any of these trips.
I haven't. No, I mean, they've all been unique and different, but they're just so, the smaller ones, they can really customize for you, right? So you get the experience that you want to have.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And so, so now, yeah, I think we're almost towards the end here. So what I wanted to do is get some final words of wisdom from you. What would you say? Well, let me see. What do you, if somebody's really, really nervous, would you agree with me that probably they need to start in where they live, find something right where they live?
Right. I think that does make sense. And, it might be a day trip. You might start with something just for the day. I know neighbors here have started to do things like go strawberry picking, and you can make a reservation and do that as a family. Wineries are starting to open here outside. So you can go and visit a winery and just be outside and in the sunshine. I think that helps. And I think that if you do some of these day trips to start, and then maybe it's one that's a little bit further away, or some people might feel comfortable going somewhere where they can rent a house on the beach. And if you rent a house, you can make sure that it's up to your cleaning comfortableness. If you want to do it yourself, and make sure that it's good, and then you can go and do your grocery shopping and bring everything and cook and stay within your house. Some other people might be more comfortable, will be comfortable going to restaurants. Some might just want to start with going to a restaurant where they can have outdoor seating, so it's in the open air. So really, I think, there's many, many ways that you can kind of baby step your way back into what you're comfortable with.
And you make a really good point too. As states open up, and a lot of them are opening up and have opened up restaurants again, one of the guidelines I think are coming from the state governments is that, you do have to have outdoor seating is great if you can have that. So
right.
Think about, anything that's fresh air related. And you mentioned wineries, depending on, there's a lot of wineries in every region now in the US, particularly Mid-Atlantic.
And breweries too. We can't ignore the breweries because there's a lot of they've got gorgeous outside spaces.
Distilleries, breweries, don't mean to leave anybody out. But you can. One of the nicest times I had, actually, you believe it, I live in the West Virginia area, and I had only recently visited a winery for the first time several months ago, and I loved it because what it was for me, it was more about the company and the fact that we had a picnic.
Yeah.
And so you can be outside, and and then you can do wine tastings or have what you can.
They're offering live music. A lot of the places now are offering live music, so you can sit and listen to music and taste some wine and have a picnic. Yeah.
I think the picnic is going to come back strong. What do you think?
I think, oh my gosh, yeah. I think that's going to be, it's going to be bring your own, and it's going to be, picnic setups. Absolutely. I think parks too, just, that whole being outside, going hiking and being active. I think people, after being so isolated, they just need that. So I think those things are going to definitely come back strong.
Okay.
Camping.
Yeah. And so I'll add my 2 cents. Here's what I would say. For whatever your bucket list has been, even Europe, whatever it is, still keep that bucket list, because I'll bet you there's a way, I know, that I can set it up for you as a travel professional. It can be set up for you to where you can travel safely with your family. So don't say, well, I'm not going to go here now, because a lot of countries are beginning to open up. The Caribbean, a lot of islands have opened up. I keep an eye on that stuff, because people have bookings and things, but
so do I. Yeah.
You can go Costa Rica, resorts I use down there are opened up, and, all inclusive. So if you want to go someplace, don't say, no, I'm not going because of this virus. Say, how can I get there safely?
Correct.
And this is where a travel professional comes in. So would you agree with that? Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. And I think that, of course, you have to do what you're comfortable with. But again, if you've got somewhere that you really want to go, I would say figure out a way to get there and do it safely, but don't take it off the list. Absolutely not.
Yeah. See, we're of the right mind. Okay. I wish we had more time to talk, but we've really gone way over time. But what you had to say was so interesting, and wanted to share your adventures with people, because I think it's, great to see that. I want to thank you for being a guest this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Lisa Leonard, Splash Communication. She is your girl.
That's right. If you need help with your messaging, or you need help with get everything ready to let people know that you're open and safe and ready to go, I'd love to talk to you about it.
She can help you pivot. She can help you pivot during this time.
Exactly. We've got a lot of strategies and things that have been really working well for our clients. So,
okay. All right. So I want to thank you so much. We're going to end the broadcast now. Everybody have a wonderful day and start planning that travel.
That's right. Stay safe and travel.
Stay safe and travel. Think small.
That's right.
See you all soon.
Thanks.
And you broadcast now. Okay.